It says here that the changes are only in the department request column.
John, did you want to know?
What's that?
You want to be on there?
Oh, we'll wait about 2 more minutes. We'll chat. All set. Okay, good evening. Welcome to the January 8th, 2014 Budget Committee meeting. The first thing on our agenda tonight is the meeting minutes from the meeting of December 18th, 2013. Everybody's got a copy or already read it.
Make a motion then to the floor for discussion.
To accept it?
No, just to bring it
Yeah.
to discussion.
Okay.
I'll second the motion.
Yeah. Don't really need to, we can just go right into it, because we already brought it up as part of the agenda, but, so if there's any changes or that, just shout them out.
Make a motion to accept the minutes of December 18th, 2013 as written.
I'll second it.
We have a motion to accept the 2013 minutes as written, and a second. Any discussion on that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Flying. And the next thing is the Tilton sewer budget. So, Peter can come on up. Yeah, you good. You can sit here, I'll switch off with you. Okay, we got a copy, I think everybody got it in their package.
7 o'clock.
Thank you.
Yep.
I guess, we've got the budget here. I guess you can go over any changes or what's going on, or...
What's going on?
Good.
As little as possible. We're trying to level fund or try to put money into the capital reserve. Right now, last year's big expense, we finally bit the bullet in Mill Street Pump Station, which is our oldest pump. It's a 30-year-old pump, so it's probably outlasted its life. We are in the process of replacing design and installation with $64,000, which to me is typical because it's not one of our larger pumps, but pump stations run generally $50,000 to $100,000. So we have that. This coming year, we're putting in 100, we've been running close to the 100,000 or so. Some of that we play as a wait and see. We have some projects that, if nothing else breaks, we'll look to do. We've got work on School Street. Part of that, we're waiting to hear from Fred Heath, who's the facilities person at Tilton School, because they have other work, and we'd be looking to coordinate to group it together to try to save a little money there. But we've got some lines up there that we need some work on. We may also start looking into preliminary engineering for West Main Street, looking from like the high school over to around the town garage range. Town garage has an issue where they have a holding tank. And so if we're going to bring sewer to there, we might as well bring it over to the high school. That fills in the whole gap on West Main.
Yeah.
DES, that's a crapshoot. Last year we got nothing for capital charges. We're hearing, $60,500 this year. Their replacement fund, to me, they're still severely underfunding, which is why a couple of years ago we had heard in the next 10 years they had been projecting about 80 to 100 million in new work that they would approve and then send the bills to the 10 communities. Currently, we're about 5% of the treatment plant's cost, so 80 to 100 million, we'd be 5% of that. I hear rumors they keep threatening to do a metering study, but the problem is trying to meter sewage is a problem, because everything else in it follows your meter, which is why in any municipality, sewer rates are always based off of water usage, because metering clean water is easy. There's nothing that follows it. So depending on what happens with that, we may, I don't think for this coming year, but in later years, our O&M charges may get adjusted if our percentages go up, because since I've been on the commission since '96, we've added some substantial projects. I think we've added a lot more than most of the other towns. So my percentages there may change. But most of the other stuff we're trying to keep close to what we've been spending.
So rates are going to stay the same?
Currently, we're not planning on raising rates. You know, if you want us to do major studies, major repairs, as soon as we hire engineers, they're not cheap. You know, we've got a decent handle between like Dave Wadley, Kenny Partridge, who's done a good chunk of our repair work, you know, can give us where the problem areas are. And so we've got some in hand that, we're trying to do incrementally a little bit each year without affecting rates.
Surplus money from the budget goes into the reserved fund? Or does it go, so everything that's
Yes.
extra goes into that reserve fund?
Yes, and all the money generated is based on user fees.
Okay, because I noticed the checking account it's a fairly good sum of money in the checking account.
I could, well, I believe, and I've got to check, the water district, which is much more newer than I am, based on Ken Money's project in the late 90s, where he did the major upgrade. I think they have $1 million in their capital reserve. You know, this will cover me, I think, for major stuff. But is it where I should be? Probably not, but I also don't want to, we did a rate increase a year or so ago, which was sticker shock to some. We've tried to keep the rates. That was the first raise. The previous raise was the previous one in my tenure back when Med was on in the early 90s.
It was right around that time.
I couldn't remember if we did one in the early 2000s. I think prior to a couple of years ago, it was the early 90s.
And I'm not questioning
No,
that.
no, so we're trying to keep our rates as low as we can. One of the disadvantages we were running into when we were dealing with rural development, anytime we do a new project, we use rural development because we can get 50% grant money usually, is they look at different ratios, and when we had the betterments to the project only, that was hurting us, because now we're spread over the tax base, which is the district. That's going to work in our favor. Our rates are, since we've raised them, we've moved up because we're close to what Laconia is charging, so I think we're in the area where we should be for rates. So that will keep us, I think, in good standing if we do, like when we go to do the West Main project, we'd look for rural development funding. The other issue we have is the state aid grant, which is that SAG offset down at the bottom. The last project I did over in Lockmere, we had the gentleman's agreement. We had an approval number, everything that our project qualified for the state aid grant. About 6 months before our project was deemed substantially complete, Governor Lynch decided to put a hold on all new state aid grants. So when we became substantially complete, able to apply, they didn't have the money. So even though we were guaranteed a 20% grant, they reneged on their promise.
And the monies that you have in the reserve fund and the checking account,
Yep.
are they in the bank at this point in time? Is there any return on that money, interests or
The
whatever?
checking account is FSB, and is the reserve funds with the DIP fund?
The checking account is with Northway Bank,
Okay.
and the reserve account...
I want FSB.
The reserve account is in FSB and money market.
Okay, and so the checking account gets the standard interest, and then the one at the FSB gets the the higher account. Okay, good. So you are getting money back.
We used to be with the New Hampshire Deposit. It was the DIP fund, and they were giving decent interest. So my guess is that with FSB now, they're comparable or slightly better.
Okay, good, thank you.
Yep.
Peter,
Jane?
do you have any plans to go to the Franklin line? You're going West Main. How far up are you going? You're saying to the highway department, and that's on both sides of the road, I assume?
Well, we'd finish that whole end of town on West Main.
Okay.
At the time we do that, we'll look at an alternative of going up Clark, but the concern is talking to Dave, what have you, is ledge. So your cost to put in pipe through ledge goes up exponentially.
Have you given any thought when you're talking about, you're going to try to keep the rate at the same?
Yep.
In the near future, going up like every 2 years as opposed to hitting people with a 40% increase out of the blue?
Well, your
Is that in the-
40% increase, if you were a single person, generally you were on the base rate if you were metered for 1,000 cubic feet a quarter, which is 8,000 gallons, which is one of those fuel tanker trucks you see going into Irving or Park and Go. You went from $27 to $35 a quarter on our last increase, which was $3 a month, which, yes, percentage-wise, 45 sounds large,
No, I understand
but
that. but
$3 a month, I think our rates are...
I'm not questioning that.
Well, I'm just
asking.
you know, but we throw the 45%. Boy, that sounds a lot scarier than it was $3 a month increase. If you were not at the base rate, you know, if you would double that, you went up $6 a month, $18 a quarter. If you were non-metered, and to try to encourage people to meter their water, we went from 57 to 82. We've got one restaurant in town that's had a broken meter for probably 10 years now. We found like the highest restaurant in town, and we've matched theirs to it. They still won't fix it. Fine. You know, if you put a meter, at least you're paying for what you use. If not, I have to figure out what's a fair rate, and we want it higher to get you to go metered. But right now, there's no talk of increase. Part of that will come depending on what DES and EPA, you know, give us for new regulations.
A rough guesstimate on how many people are not metered?
Out of, say, 780 customers approximately, I would say probably 300 are not metered.
You know, everything that's on the Tilton Northfield Water District, they're metered, so those get read. When you get east of 93, until you get over to the Lockmere Water District, which is now, I think, owned by Pennachuck, which is...
No.
No?
No, Lockmere Water District is Lockmere Water District. Pennachuck owns their own in Ashalot.
Oh, the Ashalot, okay, yeah.
Don't scam me.
Sorry. So down in Ashalot, you've got Pennachuck Water, then Silver Lake, River Road, Church, that area is the Lockmere Water District. They're all metered. Where I am over in the Andrews Road area, most of them are non-metered. I had a meter put in. So it's areas like my project that don't have them, but anyone serviced by any of the public water systems. We either read meters or Lockmere Water and Pennachuck, we get meter readings from.
Pat had a question.
I have two questions.
Two questions.
mine. One is the meter readings, is that $150? Is that what you actually pay to have meter readings done?
No, that is what we pay to Lockmere Village District. Our meter reader is under the payroll line item.
Okay. My other question is, under maintenance and repair, if your actual in 2012 is $122,964 and your actual is $113,524 in 2013, what is your thinking behind only putting in $100,000 for maintenance and repair for 2014?
Doing less work.
We're replacing an entire pump station that has given us incredible problems over the past few years.
So the maintenance is less next year, and
That's what the hope is.
Well, and part of it is, some of these projects we sort of hold back on, knowing if we've got the money, we'll do it. If we get unexpected problems with brakes and all, they stay on hold, and we fix the immediate repairs. If we have no immediate repairs, then we may look at School Street, regardless of whether Tilton School is ready, or the lower end away from theirs, or down on Academy Street. We've got a section. So we've got some areas up on Winter Street. We've got some manholes we may want to do some work on. So we've got projects that aren't necessarily have to be done immediately, but if we have time and money, we'd look to do.
where is your oldest section right now of piping?
Sitting on it.
Downtown?
Village District, we're
Yeah.
sitting on it.
Yeah.
It's cement and rebar on top.
Yeah, I don't know, when you head over toward, get a little bit west of town, over in the Tree District, Dare Street and all, some of those projects which came later, unfortunately, they used the Orangeburg pipe, which would be, if you think of the old tar paper, you just run tar paper around till you make a pipe. They put it in the ground, and what Orangeburg is notorious for doing over time is it makes a pretty heart shape as the top fails. So then that pipe will have to get repaired ahead of some of the older clay pipe, unless, if the clay pipe gets cracks, the tree roots love moisture. If there's a crack in a clay pipe and there's a tree nearby, they will find that crack and they will destroy the clay pipe. Because we've had residences with that problem. You send the root cutter in, and you're good for maybe 6 months, and the roots are back. But the Orangeburg is actually more of a problem than some of the clay. So we've got different areas of town, and I'm not sure, I'd have to check more with Dave Wadley and Ken Partridge if we have more problem with Orangeburg on the landowners, because we've had some of those where it's failed on their property. And basically, once you leave the road right-of-ways, it's no longer our property problem, it's the property owners.
Joe? Joe has a question.
Mr. Bob, may I, the orange cardboard pipe,
The Orangeburg.
okay,
Can you
then,
call me Commish?
okay. I mean, how old, when did you put that pipe in?
They stopped making that pipe in 1970s.
Okay, when did they put that pipe in?
Prior to that, and that, you know,
Our first,
40s?
no,
our
67, no,
the
60s,
late
60s,
1800s.
and they thought that that was a good idea?
Yeah.
Mill Street was like the first one,
Well,
wasn't it, like 1800s?
All right, to give you another idea, we have some Schedule 35 or 40 pipe over at AutoServe. It's supposed to be good for somewhere around 20 to 30 feet of cover. Well, when you remember when AutoServe did their expansion on this side of the building, we went from about 20 to 30 feet to around 60 feet of cover. So we had concerns, and so we had checked with Rick Lapine, who's done engineering for us in the past, and of course his comment was, well, if it hasn't failed at this point, then it's probably good, and we've yet to have a problem. In the interim, what's happened is Garth Dubois, I was going to say Garth Brooks, but Garth Dubois, when he did the car wash, he has a line going out back down to the Interceptor. If we have to, Walmart and Rogers Park out back, that line that comes across to Auto Serve, if we have to, we come down to by the post office, connect there, as that's our backup for that, in case that ever fails. So, some of the things at the time, they thought were good, it was a cheap alternative, and over time we found not so much. Now we're all PVC.
What kind of, if we're replacing the pipe, what kind of piping do we use now?
PVC. Which, now that creates a problem, because if you don't know where it is, if you have metal pipe, or if you have a metal strip in the pipe, metal detectors can find it, but if it's all plastic...
Yeah, well, can't you just put a metal ring around it, or?
Well, that, or what they'll do is sometimes after a couple feet of bedding, they'll put tape down, but if you don't catch the
Something every
tape...
100 feet,
Yeah.
or something.
Most excavating contractors are pretty good that when they get down there, and if they know something's near, they're doing a lot of hand digging before they pull and thrash with the excavator.
Well, otherwise they have to replace it, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
If you watch like Kenny Partridge, you'll see him, a lot of times you'll see him down in the hole. Because with that, depending on the depth, you don't need a trench box for Kenny. As employees, you might, but because he's the owner, he's the sacrificial lamb, he can go in. But they'll dig until they hit it, and then what they'll do is they mark it, holding a shovel, whatever, so he can come in and not hit it, no, but yes. We're a PVC where water company, I think, may still be like a metal or a cast type.
Spray metallic paint or GPS location. Okay, is there anything else, or?
No, good.
All set, and we can take a motion to accept that?
So moved.
I have one question, it's just
We got one more, go ahead.
my curiosity.
I thought we were done.
We almost
it
got
just
the motion.
Came to me.
Uh-oh.
I mean, I didn't have to ask it here, but maybe everybody else would like to know too. Our infrastructure here is very old. If you go through the history of town meetings, some of the first votes to install sewer were 100 years ago and better.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah, but what did they do back then?
God only knows.
No,
and
no,
I
no,
don't
no.
wanna know. Wood
It was, no, well, whatever, but where did they go?
into the river.
Right to the river.
Out
The
the window
solution to
into the
pollution
river.
was dilution.
So my question is, we know that a lot of the infrastructure here is very ancient. I'm sure some of it has been repaired through the years, but some of it is still very ancient. Are the sewer commissioners going to put a plan in place whereby they replace sections of that ancient sewer system? Or is it going to be, if it ain't broke, don't
Wait,
fix
wait,
it?
wait, well-
Or fix it as it breaks?
Well, we're trying to do it more, if we have the money, we fix certain sections. If it breaks, we fix it. Because to come to do it, I'd be scared, and I would say
It'd be a
40
multi-million.
to 50% of our system's old, because if you look at everything east of 93 is all relatively new.
all new.
That's good stuff. It's this area, pretty much the downtown, over to just this side of the high school.
On the residential area behind us.
Yeah, right. So some of those, we've done pieces here and there. I would prefer if we can continue to do that and use user fees, because that way it's the people who are actually flushing into the system paying, as opposed to bonding, which includes people who are outside the sewer part that have septic, having them to have to pay.
What does it usually cost, like a half a mile or a mile for a replacement? Do you have like a cost or
The price-
in a smaller?
I'm thinking, I'd have
Price
to
per
check,
foot.
but I'm thinking if you've got pavement involved, you're probably somewhere around $100 a linear foot.
Unless you have ledge, and then that's.
Right, correct. Pump stations are anywhere from like 50 to 100,000, generally speaking.
Like we had on Main Street with the water main going in there, with the cement, with the rebar that...
You know, that just,
Because I think this whole section through here is cement too.
For the water main?
Of the road.
Oh, yes, a lot of Route 3 is still concrete.
Yeah.
Yeah, the roadway is, and what's interesting is District 3 out of Guilford won't allow me to cut a 4-foot trench in the concrete to repair a pipe crossing. But they will do it for their culvert repairs. I have to replace the 50-foot. But if you go to District 2, out of Lebanon, which ends in Franklin, they allow the 4-foot cuts. Don't you love that? No. If they were consistent, I would at least...
Mandates galore.
I know, I would at least be okay if they're doing it all around, but when I can go one town over, and they allow it, but they don't allow me, because it's like when we did,
It's wrong.
Yes,
They
it
should
is.
do it statewide.
yeah.
Anything else?
So going forward, your focus will be to expand as opposed to replace?
No, we've got, that 100,000 is maintenance and repairs, so that, part of that, if we don't have any breaks, we're gonna look to repair sections at a time, but we're
Okay.
not, I don't wanna, if I can avoid it, do a bond for maintenance, because there's no grant money for repairs. New construction there is, so that's why the new construction would look to bond, because I can get close to 50% from rural development.
Okay.
And if the state lives up to their previous agreements, there should be 20% on the bulk of the project for their grant.
You don't see that changing, though?
They're supposedly coming back. What have we heard on the state aid grant?
They were reinstated, we'll get the money next year.
Okay.
Okay.
And then what happens, future projects, you have to sort of get in that line, so you queue in and see, okay, is it going to be available, and then you decide, do I go in a few years early to get the project done, or do I wait till it's there? But if we do new projects, our focus right now for next newest would be the West Main, and looking at, is it feasible to go up Clark, and if so, how far?
Does the sewer end at the Veterans Home up Winter?
No,
Or does it
actually,
extend up-
Tom Gallant, when he did the 4 houses on Caleb Hill,
Okay.
brought sewer for them. The ones on the opposite side, there's actually a line on the back side of the lot. That one's a private line, and I think the second house in has a willow tree. And we've had issues there. And of course, so there's like 4 houses, so when they tried to go to split the bill, I didn't have any problem in my house, why should I pay?
Right, absolutely.
And where it's a private line, and it was never turned over to me, I can't do anything, until you turn it over to me, deed it over, so I have my working easement to get in, I'm out of it.
So if you were to go down Clark from that area and then up that road that has a number of houses on it, you would have to have a pump station to pump it up to Winter, would you not?
If I was,
If you continued down Clark Road, there's a road that comes off of
well, if
Clark.
I can bring Clark down to Route 3, that's all downhill.
Right, but if you can't,
If I
because of
can't-
ledge,
If I can't,
then you'd have to put a pump station in.
depending, or you look at, if I can come down Clark, negotiate with a property owner who's, I think, sitting behind me, who has land, to run cross-country back to Winter Street to keep it all gravity, which would then also improve the value of their property if they so decide they want to do some sort of development. That might be something feasible. The thing is, I forget who your abutters are to get back over to Winter Street. That would be the key.
Winter Street runs right in one property.
Okay, so
Not
if
Winter Street, on the side.
Mountain View? So you might be able to then do a gravity into Mountain View
To
that
Mountain
way,
View, yeah.
because we are into Mountain View now.
So it would be nice to pick up all those
Yes.
houses that are still pumping it into the ground.
Anything else on the budget?
No.
Make a motion to accept?
Second. Motion to accept the budget as submitted, and a second. And any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Thanks, Peter. See you next year.
Okay. So I'm getting reelected is what you're telling me? Because I'm up this year.
Is anybody running against you? I don't know.
I don't know, since I've been on since '96, we've had 2 contested races, and each time they were against Jason Wright, so.
Could be the same, yeah. Okay,
Good luck.
where's my...
Thanks, Peter.
Okay, the next thing on the agenda is we received a new request from Big Brothers and Big Sisters. We can, I know what was our shut-off date?
A long time ago.
October?
Back in October.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We can,
we don't typically,
When we give them a date to the ones who normally solicit, so I send out letters saying, if you plan to solicit, so they were never informed of any date because they never solicited.
Not since I've been on the budget committee.
no, but
We
we
can,
typically turn down people that have
well,
applied late.
I guess we could make a motion and let them know that they're too late, and they're welcome to submit a new one next year, if that's
So
what everyone
moved.
would like to do.
So moved.
Seconded.
It was easy. And, oh yeah. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's it. Okay.
And Joanna, you'll add them to the list next year?
Are they involved up there? Are they involved? Are they?
Yes, they do.
Okay, the next thing we have is we have a new updated budget, which includes the changes to, was healthcare and a wage adjustment, I believe. That's all it was. So we're going to be looking at the new budget. And one of the things I just want to see if everybody wants to go along with this is because there's so many, so that we go sort of in order and we can kind of plow through it. If people wish to, we can look at a section, either a department, if it's small, or like the administrative section, it's actually quite a few lines. We could split it in half, and if anybody wants to make a motion to change any of the numbers in the first half, let's say, down to, let's say, line 350, they can do that, and if not, somebody can make a motion to accept that whole strip. Does that sound like a good way to plow through it?
I think
I
so.
recommend that you just say yes.
Just say yes.
Is that a threat?
I think we should just make a motion, go through the whole thing and accept it as a whole.
The whole budget?
I mean, because it is a whole budget. Just, I mean,
I guess I
you
would,
go through it, I can't imagine, we've looked at it so many times
We've
that
never,
there'll be many changes.
well, we've never voted on it, so I didn't want to jump around. I want to, in case somebody
No, I was
says,
just gonna say, we should go through it from the beginning, start at the beginning, because that's what the selectmen do, you start at the beginning, you go through it, any changes, the administrator's budget, blah, blah, blah. Nope, then move to the next. Note the changes, and then at the end, you'll have a final figure, and approve that final figure.
I guess I would be more
by
comfortable
department?
going section by section,
By department?
By department.
By department?
by department.
Everyone want to go that way? Sounds great. Okay,
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we accept the administration part of the budget, 01 to 62, at this point in time,
let's see.
be page 1 and half of page 2.
Do we have a second?
I second that.
Which budget are you approving?
Is that in the amount of 644,000 or 636,801? You are approving the selectmen's column?
Approving the selectmen's column or?
I recommend a selectmen budget of $644,554.
And I will second that.
We have a second. Does anybody
What about the,
wish to issue an amend?
I would like to amend that.
Okay, what would you like to amend?
There's, the department request of $636,801.
The difference is healthcare.
Right.
We didn't have the total numbers in healthcare.
Right, so it went down.
No,
No.
it went up.
Right. The healthcare on its, healthcare went up because the end of the,
I thought that was one of the changes in one time, okay.
there was one change in healthcare, but the numbers, because it was open enrollment the last time you got yours, the numbers went up.
Okay.
So those are actual figures now for healthcare. The change was in, family versus a two-person, that kind of thing.
Okay.
And then the wage.
Never mind then.
Okay, were there any other amendments to,
I just had a question. Is that the only thing that changed was the line item for page 1, second from the third from the bottom, health insurance? That's just taking a quick look, but that's it?
Yeah.
Yep.
From 68,772 to 76,525? Okay.
Health insurance.
Wondering if you guys just tried slipping something in there on us.
I don't know that that's correct. I think that what Tim said was that the new numbers are in the department request because the selectmen have not voted on the new numbers yet.
You have to remember, this is the selectmen's budget that's being presented to you. The department request is from the selectmen. That was the first column we gave you before. I mean, quite frankly, it shouldn't even be in here to confuse it. I didn't differentiate because I didn't, want to say, well, selectmen. I just wanted to make sure that the motion was clear. We're voting on the 644, 544, which is the final budget.
But I'm confused because according to this,
I believe Johanna is right, because if you read Tim's letter, he does state that he put it into the department, under Department of Government. We have not officially voted on the change. So
You haven't met since those changes have been made.
Still, the selectmen request, he said that these changes reflect primarily health and wage adjustment.
In the PD budget.
With several changes to the department request column.
Okay. So, Mr. Chairman, if
No, he's-
Jane will take back her second, I'll take back my...
I'll take back my second.
I'll take back my original motion, and then I would move that we accept the administration budget 0162's department requests for monies for 636,601.
801.
801.
801, I'm sorry, I'm got my glasses on, that's the problem.
we have a motion and a second to accept the department request of $636,801. So we have a motion and a second. I'm going to make a motion to amend that amount by $1,000 to $635,801 by removing, line number, or changing the amount in line number 385, administrative miscellaneous expenses, from $2,500 to $1,500.
I second that motion.
We have a motion and a second.
What is your purpose for?
The purpose for that was, there was two $500 gift cards that were given out last year for helping to work on the town report, and I feel like that's an extra $1,000 that's still in that account that would not be used, and I think we could save $1,000 and not be giving out gift cards to employees. And that's it. So, anybody else want to discuss that? So, we have a motion to amend that number to $635,801. So we'll vote on the motion first. All right, vote on the motion to amend. So any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? How many opposed do we
I
have?
oppose, we're
I oppose.
approving a draft budget.
Yeah, I think we're wasting our time by doing that.
That's okay.
What's that?
The
This is a
selectmen,
draft budget.
yeah, the selectmen have not this is not the selectmen's budget yet. They haven't voted on the changes. This is a draft, so why are we spinning our wheels looking at a draft budget that may change next week? Because the selectmen meet tomorrow night.
Well, if it does, we can change that again. We can vote to change it if not.
Is the whole thing? So this isn't,
We have not approved the changes, for
So you
example,
haven't-
that have
it hasn't been
increased this
submitted.
budget from 636,801, just this column, to 644,554. We haven't approved it. This is not you're not getting the selectmen's budget. You're getting a draft of a proposed budget. We haven't voted on this.
Mr. Chairman, point of
So
order.
these numbers,
so going through this is...
go ahead.
Point of order
first, yeah.
is that we've taken a vote, we have not got the results of that vote at this point in time. It's not a time for discussion, but a time for the
Voting on the motion.
voting on the
That's right.
motion, if the vote amendment has been approved or disapproved.
I don't quite understand what the selectmen's budget is or the department request column is.
Beg your pardon, I understand.
I understand. This is a draft budget, though. This is a draft. The Budget Committee shouldn't be voting
Exactly.
on the selectmen's budget when the selectmen haven't even approved it yet.
That's why I said
That's
we're
the bottom
spinning
line.
our wheels. To
Right.
me,
So
it's a
this is-
Because you're supposed to vote on the selectmen's budget.
Exactly.
This is the selectmen's budget. Here you go, vote
Point of
on
order,
it.
see-
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, go ahead.
Point of
Unless the
order is
Budget
we're
Committee wants to
still-
create
we're
their
still
own.
in the middle of a vote, this is not discussion.
Yep.
We have got a vote on
We
the
haven't-
table,
we
we have a vote on the
haven't
table and it
voted.
has not been recorded. Until that occurs, we cannot
When
go
did we
to
do?
discussion.
We have a vote to do that, and
We need the results of what the vote was, sir. Of the
I'm
amendment.
going to have to go back over that because I wasn't exactly sure. All those that were in favor,
It was 3-3.
It was 3-3,
Exactly, it was
so
3-3.
it's dead.
Yeah.
was 3-3.
The Robert's Rules of Order is only advisory.
Yeah.
It has no basis in law.
Excuse me?
Robert's Rules of Order is only advisory. It has no basis in law.
Okay, so the
Except
original,
we'd agreed upon during the beginning of our meetings that we would follow Robert's Rules of Order unless other specified by the chairperson.
okay, so we're going to be, we didn't amend that.
Can we go back to the discussion about why we're doing this?
Let's go over that before we vote on the, see, it's interesting because what I had here before was a draft budget, and it's a draft there. The budget that was submitted tonight, I didn't realize that the top of the page says draft.
Yeah.
And it doesn't look, but there is no draft.
For you to get it.
I asked him to do this, so the
And the
Budget
letter
Committee would have
specifies
it and
this.
be able to digest it.
Right.
I didn't even think that the Budget Committee would attempt to vote on it.
In his letters, I think the cover letter specifies that it's, a draft budget. It's not been voted on by the selectmen.
Okay, so that means next week we'll have to tap the whole budget for the final.
Exactly.
But we still have a pending motion.
And then we have that. So we still have the motion on the floor. Well, we have a motion on the floor to the total administration at $636,801. However, we don't have a finalized amount by the selectmen, so it's up to the people who made the motion if they wish to withdraw that or not.
I thought we did, didn't we?
No.
No, there was an amendment to the motion.
Okay.
That's what was voted on.
Jane, do you wish
And-
to take the second away, and then I will take away the
Yes,
motion?
I take the second away.
And then we'll go back to looking at the budget and answering questions on any information or discussing it.
I have a question for the select board.
Okay. Go ahead.
I have two questions. The health, everything is in here now is finalized for the health insurance. Those are the final rates. What was the percentage increase that the budget was affected by at this point in time? And the second question, which is kind of corollary to it, has the reorganization of the police department occurred or is in the middle of occurring? And will it be affected within this budget that we currently have?
Money article, it will not be affected in this budget. All money articles for the CBA, the contractual agreement will go to town meeting to be voted.
I'm talking more about the command structure. I believe the command structure will be changing from
It's
2
already changed.
lieutenants
Yes, it's
to...
already changed.
Okay, that's what I'm...
Yes, this is reflected as well.
Okay. So the new structure is the chief, a captain, senior sergeant?
Proposed senior
Yeah, proposed change.
Sergeant 2 in July, yes.
Okay, good.
Proposed in July. We have changed the dispatch/clerk position, which was a union position, to an administrative assistant position because of the duties and because of the duties that she does perform. It's a lot more confidential. She deals with lawyers, she deals with investigations and files them and so on and so forth. There's quite a bit involved in the process that she does. We had to go through a certain process in order to do that, and we did, and effective January 1, was non-union personnel as an administrative assistant. The dispatcher will change from dispatcher/clerk to communications specialist. Those are the only changes that are coming out, so
That would be a union position or a
that's a
non-union?
union position.
Union
correct,
position,
And that's
okay.
subject to the contractual agreement.
So at this point, the union contract affects that position and the officer, the patrolman. Supervisors are not part of that system?
Affects the prosecutors, detectives, patrolmen, and dispatchers.
Okay. So the other folks are non-union and
Captain and chief are non-union.
are they part of the merit system or are they on a separate
They're
scale?
part of the captain and the chief are part of the merit system along with people that come on. Highway, those two, and the administrative system will also be part of that.
Okay, thank you.
And when you asked the question about what the percent increase was on the, there wouldn't have been because the budget's been reduced,
Okay.
okay? So there would have been no
Overall, we
increase.
experienced a 7.8% in healthcare.
That's what I'm looking at.
We asked the employees, the non-union employees, to contribute 12%, 2% over what they were contributing last year.
So it actually did go up, but by asking for a rebate from the employees, it came back down.
Well, that's not necessarily a true statement, because
Okay.
what, it changes, family
Moot point.
plans, single plans, going from the not buyout to buy, it changes, and it's the way the numbers work as far as what plan and who got what, that it went down.
Yeah. But generally, it was 7.8%
There was a
increase.
7.8% increase, yes, for the insurance, right.
Okay, any other questions that anyone else had for? One of the questions I had that maybe you could answer or you could talk to the chief about. In 2010, we got a 4-year purchase plan for cruisers. Last year, it said no cruisers. In 2014, 2 cruisers, but last year we got 2 plus 1 extra. Right? Are we going by this?
We got 2 last year.
Yeah, and that was 2013. And on this plan, it says no cruisers.
In 2013,
Yeah. And it
They
says,
actually acquire 3.
and they,
Taxpayers bought 2, and they bought
Taxpayer-
1. I thought they bought 3.
if the taxpayers bought 2, and we also acquired 1, we're still paying for the operations of that vehicle, the insurance on that vehicle, and also by using that vehicle, it lessens the use of other vehicles. But I'm looking at a plan that we made so that we would be replacing all of the cruisers. And we have planned for next year another cruiser purchase?
Yes.
Just one?
Half out of the, in here in the budget, 15,000, half out of the detail.
Oh, we're not going by this anymore. That's, you know,
I've never even seen that
Not sure
myself,
what you're,
John.
what you're looking at.
this is, I don't, I see this?
I don't know what you're talking
You're
about
looking
either.
at 2010, you said?
Yeah, a four-year,
I never saw that.
yeah, purchase plan.
Sandy, can you make one for all of us, because we haven't seen it either?
Yeah, because we need to,
We'll get an answer.
yeah,
The chief,
because can we have, I mean, now that's amended, can we have like a 5-year plan or something, looking ahead? Because we're not following anything. It's like, we got some extra money, let's buy a cruiser. Why did it change?
one of the things that we changed in the last couple of weeks is we actually put out a policy that the second week of every month, the department heads need to report to us. And Chief will come before us tomorrow with a report, a monthly report, including mileage and all of the things that the budget committee has asked for. We can ask him at that time. Also, plans, future plans, where is going, all of that. And the highway is also coming in the same thing. So this would be on a monthly basis.
I'm coming into it.
Every month. We have
Nice.
problems, existing maintenance, everything. You're welcome to a new one.
It's daytime, is daytime thing, or?
It's about 3:34.
Yeah, that's, I'm still down there.
I'll be there.
It'll be on tape, so
Yeah.
if you have any questions, feel free to
Well, that would be,
email them to me.
yeah, that will be the question is, why are we not following that? What deviated so much that we, when we said no cruisers, we actually had 2 vehicle purchases outright, and then an additional. And the other thing, you know, I look at, and Dennis's gasoline went down, his use, diesel and gas substantially, and
I just wonder where this came, I mean,
this was given to us,
Came from me.
2010, it looks like.
yeah, this was something that was given out for all the
In 2010.
budgeting, and there was, we're trying to figure out, at one time, we were going and buying them as we need them, or doing that, so the idea was, you know, let's plan out how many we need and project so that we can see what our budgets will look like, instead of just,
I've seen another plan that he has up until, I believe, 2017, where he lines out the cruises, SUVs, and things that he needs. I've never seen this.
well, this came out in 2010, so this is
Yeah.
very old.
that brings it up to this year. So,
I think it's been,
Yeah,
we'll check into it.
I think that it's probably been revised, because
Right.
it's not the one I've seen that I've worked
Certainly
on.
get an answer.
and, I mean, same thing like fuel, our new cruiser is supposed to be getting better fuel mileage, but yet our fuel is going up, and our costs and expenses for fuel is going up.
Well, that could be a lot of things, like more usage, or more distance, or whatever, so,
More patrolmen.
yeah.
More patrolmen,
Because they're almost going, we're up to speed now. We have 7?
I don't even want to talk about it. I don't think Laconia has as many officers as we do.
okay, anything else that,
I have a question about the highway department. their health insurance didn't go up. Or from your department request to selectmen, would they go up 7% like?
We already went, prior to us giving you a draft, we had already, there were no changes, nobody made any changes during open enrollment. That's
Oh,
what that is.
oh, all right.
Okay.
Did we get anybody else to do the buyout this year?
No, and we were asked to go up on the buyout, to increase the amount of the buyout as a better incentive, and the selectmen opted not to do that.
I didn't think we completed that discussion. I thought it was proposed to us.
I think that,
Staff here in Town Hall had asked us to do that.
did anybody, could it be possible that we'd add additional person or family? I mean, has there been a thing saying, hey, if you give me this, are you familiar with the buyout?
Yeah.
One person.
At one point a while ago, where I work and other people in the private sector, some companies, to save money on insurance, say, if you go and buy your insurance through your spouse or another source, we'll give you, let's say, at the end of the year, $3,000. And you just have to prove that you do it.
That's the whole buyout concept.
Yep. And so I think, how much, let's say, a family plan,
It's $1,500 for a single, and $3,000 for a two-person, and $5,000 for a family plan.
and actually saves us maybe $7,000, $8,000?
Oh,
It saves us a lot.
More than that.
Family plan saves huge.
Saves us like 18,
1,000.
15 to 18,000. So, yes, it is an incentive.
And that incentive's going to get tougher because with the new teacher contract, where teachers are going to get $6,000 a year for 5 years when they retire towards their health insurance as an incentive for retirement. That's going to skew everything for buyouts at this point in time.
Incentives to retire.
Incentives to get paid for not working.
No, I know. You're talking to a guy whose 401k is
And they're-
not nearly big enough.
And there'll be a minimum,
Different generation.
and there's going to be a minimum of 5, it's going to be given to a minimum of 5 teachers per year.
Maximum, I thought, of 5 teachers.
So are there any more thoughts on, the buyout, or I don't know how anybody else in the budget?
We talked about it during the healthcare, during all of that, and the selectmen, we didn't take a vote, or we did take a vote.
I don't think we took a vote. There was a discussion, but I don't think it ever came to a
I think
conclusion.
we punched it.
Yeah, it was consensus that we
More
were going out.
Would you guys want to, I don't know how you guys feel about it on the budget, but, I mean, my thoughts, would be, it's a good thing to encourage. If somebody's previously been buying it, anybody who bought the insurance last year, if they want to get bought out this year, they'll give you $6,000.
Well, what
The
would
family.
you do, double it? Would you,
I thought Tim was going to come back to us with those types of figures.
$6,000 for a family plan?
That's why we punted it. We
If
didn't
it-
have, we
They didn't have information.
If we give them 6, it will save us at
10,000,
12.
What's a fair figure?
Yeah.
So
And
it's not
if-
like it's off the table, it's just we didn't know exactly what to do.
Somebody call my company and tell them to do that.
So,
A lot of companies do that,
No, I know.
a new concept.
Well, it's not, it's a corporation is my problem.
so
A lot of corporations do that.
No, I know.
Well, if you
First
think
I've
if you
heard of
just
it.
increase the buyout for a family plan by $1,000 or $1,500, you're still going to save over $10,000.
Right.
Yeah?
So,
Oh, yeah?
gee, do I want to spend $1,500 to save $10,000? Yeah, probably.
I think it's a very
in the real
wise thing
world.
to try and throw out there. The important part is, it's for people who previously are buying insurance. I mean, if they're already getting it somewhere else, they can't just collect up. But if somebody that is purchasing insurance this year, they want to get bought out, can buy it out and then keep them grandfathered into the buyout.
The staff doesn't change that much in town hall, though, that
Part of the problem there is.
You would have people who would change.
This year, but then say next year they discover, oh, well, my mate's policy has changed, and this one's now better, so now I want insurance here.
Yep, and that's their,
Still have
that's,
the budget for it.
yep.
Right?
Yes, on the next year, but you wouldn't have to this year. It wouldn't be included.
Right.
in the
Exactly,
budget.
and then you,
Right.
So-
then you get a 30% rate in from health, not like this.
And your renewal has to be in
December.
in December, so we would know for the budget season.
That's right.
So,
It would still work.
it's a win-win. I can tell you where I work, if you put your spouse onto your insurance, they fine you $75 a week.
Ouch!
Seriously.
Like it's against the law?
No, bi-weekly, I'm sorry, bi-weekly. If they have insurance available, and you
Oh.
put them on there, then, yeah, $75 a week for it, yeah.
Well, isn't that like an increase in your premium payment?
No, that's what-
Increase in my portion my
An
portion.
increase in his portion of what he
That-
pays for it.
What you're talking about is what the state does, state retirement. If I have a single plan when I retire, and then I put my wife on that plan, my rates then double to put her on there, and it comes out of my retirement check, right out of the retirement check, until I'm 65, then I'm forced to go to take Medicaid. They actually drop my insurance and put me on Medicaid from the state.
Medicaid or Medicare? 65, you're eligible for Medicare.
Medicare, which or whatever one, but that automatically drops me from my current plan to whatever's available for Medicare, and that's it.
Welcome to the 2000s.
I know.
So I don't know, it might be too late this year to have somebody get on somebody
Yeah, but
else's
it's not
plan.
too late for, it's not too late for the contract, and it's not too late for the fall, the next year.
So, you can't lose there. And the key thing would be somebody that was previously on it, sign up, as opposed to somebody that never has. Something.
They have a leak up there.
That's a new thing.
Dennis is all over it. Johanna discovered it, and Dennis came up yesterday. It's the,
We have one at the senior center.
no one turned on the heat tape for the drainage system until Johanna did. Was it yesterday you did it?
Yeah, I don't think it's the heat tape, though, it's the storm drain outside that was covered with snow. It's now full.
So the maintenance line
Just is about
needs to be adjusted at tomorrow's meeting. They just happen to point at it.
Drain. Drain froze, it's full.
Dim the lights.
Hopefully he'll have Raul steam it out, because if it lets go this weekend and that's still full of ice. It's gonna-
Or you start getting into the school's mold issues.
Are there any other things that people needed?
We need to still vote on the, when it was soccer.
And
There was one that we tabled till tonight.
Oh, there was,
We only tabled one till tonight, though. So if anybody wants to remove that from the table.
Community action plan.
I think the issue we have is the same people are here, were the same people that were there last
Yeah, I
time, and
mean,
we have our
it says we tabled that until this meeting. Seconded. Where's it?
table the discussion on Red Cross until January 8th.
Okay, so we tabled the discussion on the Red Cross till January 8th. So if anybody wants to make a motion to remove from the table the Red Cross, this is the January 8th meeting.
I move that we take the Red Cross off the table and discuss funding for their
I second
needs.
that.
We have a motion, second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None, so moved. We're back at the Red Cross here. Okay, any
Mr. Chairman, a question, what was the amount that they had requested?
amount of Red Cross?
$1,609.
Thank you, sir.
Just happen to have that, probably never that.
And how much did we give them last year?
500.
500. Good. Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we fund the Red Cross at last year's budget level of $500.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to fund the Red Cross at last year's amount at $500. Any discussion on that?
I think that's way too low. It's my own opinion, and I think it is because of the services they provide the town. We give something like the Pines, the amount of money we give, and I really think that when our citizens are in a dire situation, that they provide more relief and more value than some of the other organizations we give to.
Anybody else have any comments, suggestions?
I get that, and I understand that, but they are very valuable, and I implore anybody who has the means to do it to give to the Red Cross. We're volunteering other people's money. We're volunteering tax people's money.
They had no problem giving other people's money to the Pines, that's what I'm saying.
But that's a local
And
community.
And we've seen year after year that the legislative body of even the town of Tilton always refunds the money to the Pines. So that statement's made, we know that the legislative body supports the
I
Pines.
think what we can do is
The Red Cross, I think a lot of people have a problem because it's, statewide, nationwide, so how much of it actually stays in Tilton? We know that if there's an emergency, somebody's home burns down or flood or lightning, they respond, whether it's here or another community.
So you're saying that they're going to respond whether we give them money or not, so therefore we shouldn't give them money.
No, I think we should give,
Okay.
I personally think we should give them money. I'm just saying that's why some people have problem funding these national organizations, like the Red Cross.
She explained well my issues with it.
Yeah, we know it's a great
huge. It's
agency,
huge.
but
Yeah.
it's much easier to fund, the visiting nurses that serve our community. They don't serve Powaz County, they don't serve Manchester, they serve our community. These people are nationwide. And we know
Worldwide,
some of
yeah.
our dollars will go to that.
Well, not according to what the
Well, they'll go
the
statewide for
presentation
this. They'll go
that was made
statewide.
here, Yeah.
Anybody else have any, everybody's got an idea on this and a thought, and we're all pretty passionate about the Red Cross, that they do a good service.
How generous can you be with
Well-
taxpayers' dollars?
And if,
You're not asking for $42,000, they're asking for $1,500.
1609.
Doesn't matter if it's 100.
You're entitled to your opinion, I'm entitled to mine.
So we have a motion and a second on the floor to fund the Red Cross at last year's amount for $500. Any more discussion, additional information? Okay, all those in favor of funding them at $500, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
So we have we had
42.
4-2. So move funding for the Red Cross is at $500.
Are you going to vote on the community action budget?
We didn't table that, if people really want to bring that back up again. I mean, unless if somebody has something that's really pertinent about it, and they'd like to bring it up again, I know we
Something
didn't-
came up today that I wasn't aware of, and I made my feelings very clear on the transit in the past, and those feelings have not changed. But Wayne and I went to the school today, and we learned from the principal of the middle school of the elementary school, that one of the major problems that they have in dealing with the children and the parents is a lack of transportation for the parents. Many of the parents that send children to Union Sanborn have no transportation whatsoever. and they would be able to make use of something like the bus. She wasn't even aware of the fact that the bus existed. I plan to go there tomorrow to take her schedules, but I think it's used and has the potential to be used a lot more than it is now, and that it provides a valuable service to the elderly, to working people, as we heard from them. So to not fund them at all, I think is unconscionable. And those of us, we're all sitting here with cars, and one, and in some cases, two cars, and it's easy for us to sit back and say that we're not going to fund a need that people in our community have. And I think there's a definite need for the bus service.
Anybody else want to chime in?
All we need is a motion.
A motion to...
Are we discussing?
Well, we
We're
didn't...
going to need, put a motion
I'd
on the
like to
table.
make a motion to reopen,
How about a motion to fund it at?
or to
Well,
fund it
we-
at...
We tabled that, right?
We didn't table it.
We didn't table that.
Do we vote on it? We voted on it,
Voted on
right?
it.
Voted
You can
and
vote
it
on
tied,
You can
I
vote on
believe.
an item as many times as it's brought up to be
Or
voted
actually,
on.
yeah, I think
We only
it
tabled
failed.
Red Cross.
Tied.
The motion failed.
The motion failed.
The motion was for $5,000.
Yeah, and it failed, so it was unfunded at zero.
You haven't closed
It's-
your,
Yeah, so it's,
you can vote on it.
Yeah, and I don't
Wait.
think it was ever voted on zero. We voted on putting it at zero, I think, and it never passed that either. It never passed anything.
okay, well,
I'll make
we'll
a
bring it up.
motion to fund Cap Winnie Transit System at last year's amount of $2,500.
Okay, we have a motion to fund the Cap Winnie Transit at $2,500. Do we have a second for funding it at $2,500?
I'll second that.
And we have a second to fund Cap Winnie Transit at $2,500. Do we have an amendment to that number? Is that,
Let's vote.
what's that?
Let's vote on that.
We want to vote on that?
Well,
Okay,
this-
no more
Vote on that.
discussion?
I would like to discuss
Vote on that.
a little bit,
Okay,
just to give
so
my
any-
opinion of it or my thought
Okay,
process
a
on it.
discussion?
The discussion I have for Winnie Transit, and it was from what I read of them and what I looked at for them, and the question, one of the first questions we had for them was they even admitted in their presentation that a few years ago they were having a tough time justifying their existence with the number of riders that they had, and then since then they've added extra buses and they've added 2 people to administrative on that. Yet, all the ideas that we had, well, they'll look into that. They didn't. The school doesn't even know it exists. They're adding employees. They're getting top-heavy, bigger, instead of giving more to the community. And most of their funding, our $5,000 or $2,500 is a drop in the bucket to them because a lot of it comes from federal and state. So is there a certain point where we say to them, get creative and maybe next year you might get something back? Show us that the schools know you use it. Show us that Walmart and Tanger Outlet aren't interested in anything that they have to offer, and you would think that would be the justification for mass transit in a small town, is the private sector, the businesses. And it doesn't seem like businesses are even, I get that it's huge for the people who need it. I don't want to be, the Grinch that stole the bus system, but do they justify their existence? Is my question. That's my
Right, no,
concern.
sure,
And my concern has not been alleviated.
Does anybody else will go around?
I'm all set.
I'm good for now.
Yeah, I don't know where you're getting your information. First of all, they haven't gotten more top-heavy, as far as I know.
That was the-
And I have been very active on it, on a state level and as a regional level, as well as on the Budget Committee. That is an untrue statement. They have not gotten more top-heavy. They had a person who left, and that person was replaced by somebody who was already within the organization, who was Terry Page, who made the presentation here. Okay, number one. Number two, Walmart, it's never said they want nothing to do with them. Tanger Outlet has never said they want nothing to do with them.
Well, I was paraphrasing the
They
quotes.
they
but-
had not they had approached and asked for ideas from Tanger Outlet, okay? And that was not followed up on. That is not that Tanger Outlet wants nothing to do with them. That's not a true statement. The school didn't know about them because no one in the school had ever had any reason to think there was anything available. There are brochures down in every town hall in the area. That was one person, that was the principal of the school, who did not know that they existed.
But neither did the parents that needed the service. I think the point is they're
Some
not...
of the parents aren't
They're
even...
not out there campaigning and promoting themselves. They're not out there saying, here, we're here, to schools and hospitals and whatnot. They're not out there raising monies. They're not out there being, I don't want to say self-sufficient,
They have
but
their
at
hand out,
least
and that's
getting
it.
monies into their coffers.
And it seems to...
Tanger is sitting there perched, waiting for them to approach them for donation. And I got that firsthand. And they have not approached them. That bothers me. I think they're a marvelous organization, but like you, are they coming to us for, their $2,500 or their $5,000 because they figure we're going to give it to them and they don't have to work for it?
I don't think
It annoys
that
me
at all.
that, they don't work harder on the other communities that the bus service, provides service to.
How do you know that?
Because they sat there and said they didn't.
They said they didn't work harder? That's not true at all,
They had gone to
Catherine.
one of their meetings and that was it.
Why don't you go back and listen to the tape? I would suggest that.
I don't have
know,
to,
I'd
I
like to
talked to
call
them
the question.
firsthand.
And it seems to me also the reason why
I
the
think
school
we called the
doesn't...
I've
question.
called the question.
Yes, so we'll vote on that. The motion was to fund Winnie Transit at $2,500. We had a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Let the record show that I declined to vote, please. All those
2 to
who
1.
voted aye, raise your hands.
All in, but she wants a hand count.
Okay, hand count, all those in favor?
In favor of what?
$2,500.
Of $2,500?
3. And all those opposed? We have 1. I'm abstaining from it.
And I declined to vote.
I'm too undecided on the, so moved.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, we have a motion to adjourn,
Certainly, Mr. Chairman, I would make that motion.
unless, this is the last meeting before we'll be voting next week, definitely on all of the things. So I just want to make sure nobody has any questions left to submit to any of the departments.
Did we clear up all the... That's it. Red Cross and Winnie Transit were the last ones, right?
Okay, motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
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 Stand adjourned?
Yes.
Okay, the funding for the bus service comes from
There's no
the
need to
Department of
point.
Transportation grant that has to be, that just became available. It's not a
did well
federal thing
compromised.
whatsoever.
I thought you
Terry
pulled out for
Page
5,000.
is in charge of coordinating and getting it off the ground and getting the information out, but she's not a marketing person. They don't have anybody that's gonna go to Tanger Outlet or Walmart.
They need to.
Hey,
Here's my...
about putting on somebody else.
No, we told them last year that they need to go and do advertising and get out there and get more money and find more creative ways, because we weren't,
See, I sit on the RCC, oversees it. There's nobody to go and be more creative. There's really nobody there.
They went to
Tomorrow or the
take,
next day, 'cause they
they can't come up with the price to wrap the bus. The price is